I feel like Devin Booker is a guy right now that needs a moment. He needs that breakout moment where Devin Booker becomes the guy that the Phoenix Suns need him to be. And he's hitting threes and he's hitting the mid-range, and then he turns the ball over 3 straight trips. He makes bad decisions. He finally stays out of foul trouble, but then, gets frustrated and is barking at the officials, and his guy beats him back on defense. And I just ask myself, at what point, if you're Devin Booker, do you take that leap forward into superstardom, because you're never going to have a better chance than to do that now? And you're getting performances from guys around you. Now, yeah, did DeAndre Ayton catch the ball even one time last night? I don't believe he did. I think he bobbled or dropped every single ball that was thrown to him, and I want to choke him for it. But Jake, I think at some point, and I know that we've had this conversation on a pretty much daily basis on this show, Devin Booker has to, he has to bloom. He has to explode. He has to have that 50, 60-point game in the playoffs where he just launches himself onto another level.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now he's going through the growth process that every young, superstar, if you will, goes through, where you have to learn how not to get frustrated and play the game within the game, which is you have to understand when to go to the rack and get fouled. You got to understand when to just take over from a scoring perspective. Like these things that you're responsible for as a superstar, if you will. He's trying to learn these things, and I think last night, I thought that, Paul George did a great job winning the game within the game. He, once again, was playing the petty stuff. Him, Bev, all their guys just do this whole thing where they're either flopping or drawing fouls or like just doing certain little things here and there that frustrate the opposition and get them to make mental mistakes. And I think that's the thing that Book and the rest of the team need to clean up. And yeah, DeAndre Ayton, he's got to learn to catch the ball. I mean, again, he's seen so much growth this season. He's playing such good basketball, but when you don't catch the ball, like what good are you? Last night, Zubats doesn't play, and Ayton doesn't really have, a standout game. He just kind of has a pedestrian game, and that was really surprising to me. I don't know why they weren't featuring DeAndre Ayton more. Why wouldn't you let him just absolutely eat whoever they decide to put on him? Because you're going to get him in foul trouble. So overall, I felt like whether we're talking about Book or anybody else on the floor last night, I just didn't feel like they played a real quality game. And now the mistake you've made is you've given the Clippers hope, because now what's going to happen is you're going to go back to LA. The Clippers are believing they can beat you without Kawhi Leonard, without Zubats. And now you're going to have to, ideally, you don't want to go to a Game 7. You don't want to do that, man. That is a mistake. In every way possible. That's a mistake. You should not be here. You should have won last night. You should be sitting at home or sitting wherever, enjoying, a drink and watching, the Bucks and the Hawks go at it. That's what you should be doing. But you played undisciplined basketball, so you're not. So we'll see what they do in Game 6 now. We'll see what they do.
Yeah, and I'm not saying by any means that the series is lost or that the Suns can't win the series, but something significant is going to have to change. And when I see Chris Paul never even look to pass late in the game, and he's just hawking up threes that never looked like they were going in, when you're getting phenomenal efforts out of, campaign and he's not in the game, I do think some of this conversation has to be about the decisions Monty Williams is making. Like, it was really surprising late in that game that Cameron Payne was not in there. And I look at another Cam Johnson.
Yeah, don't know where he went.
Where did Cam Johnson go? Why is Cam Payne not in the game when Devin Booker is turning the ball over repeatedly?
Yeah.
Why is, when you're down 10 and you need the 3 ball and Cam Johnson's been hitting that 3 out of the corner, why is he not in the game standing in the corner? Because the Clippers haven't figured out a way to stop him yet.
Yeah.
Wide
open look after wide open look for him.
How much blame do you put on Monty Williams for some of this?
I definitely think he bears a lot of the responsibility, but at the end of the day, I think that, again, we wouldn't have to talk about Monty Williams and his rotations if Book and CP3 and the rest of these guys, handled their business. I think that Cam Johnson has been reliable. He's made the shots he's been asked to make. He'll give you a couple drives to the bucket every night, and that's what he does. And then he decides when he needs to turn it up on defense. So I think he's doing his job, but he's just a role player. That's what he is for this team right now. And that's why I say at the end of the day, the ultimate responsibility does indeed fall on Devin Booker's shoulders, because, again, if he's not turning the ball over, if he's not playing reckless basketball, if he's winning the mental battle, we don't have to worry about, like the Suns not winning Game 5. We don't have to worry about all these mistakes. But because he is turning it over and he's not playing smart basketball, and I really do think that this nose situation is really part of the issue. Like, I feel like he's trying to figure out if he wants to wear the mask or not wear the mask, and he got hit in the face last night and it really, really hurt. And so he's battling that. And I think it's a struggle for him. So, like I said, this is his first postseason. At some point, they were going to face adversity. They hadn't really faced adversity up until this series. So we'll see. That said, yes, Monty Williams needs to get this team back to who they are, which is playing pick and roll at DeAndre Ayton, moving the ball, and finding the corner three with Mikal Bridges or Cam Johnson. When that happens, they are extremely difficult to beat. So that's what I'd be looking for in Game 6.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. Your watch is talking to you, Jake. That's the only female talking to you lately.
Dude, yeah, no. Don't get me started. No.
That's later in the show.
No.
I think that the Suns are still going to win this series. I think this is more probably a bump in the road. You were up 3-1, you lost, okay. The thing that's really encouraging to me about what I heard last night was, after the game, Monty Williams ripped his team for just showing up and not having that killer mentality, which, by the way, is a little shocking based on the fact that Chris Paul said, we haven't accomplished anything. A 3-1 lead, as I know all too well, is not a good enough lead. It's a little shocking that they just showed up. But on the flip side of that, you got to give Paul George and the Clippers some credit. Patrick Beverley continues to be a disruptor. Pat Bev continues to be a guy that, frankly, I don't think the Suns have figured out exactly how to deal with yet at this point. And I think that while they have learned to pick and roll and switch Patrick Beverley off of Devin Booker, I think whoever Patrick Beverley is guarding, he's creating havoc. He's blocking shots. He's getting rebounds. He's getting steals. Patrick Beverley's having a huge impact on this series. And I think we saw last night that with Ivica Zubac's out of the lineup now, what looks like for the rest of the series, DeMarcus Cousins came in and dominated and played really well and shot the jumper well and went to the basket well and defended well. And all of this goes to say, I just saw a complete lack of intensity out of the Suns. And I saw a guy in Paul George, Jake, that I think was out there trying to prove a point.
No doubt about it. I mean, he was definitely trying to prove a point. And I think that Paul knows just as well as anybody else that his reputation is still in question in terms of his clutch gene and his ability to be that guy for the Clippers. And I think before Kawhi went out, I think there was a lot of conversation about the fact that this was Kawhi Leonard's team. But with Kawhi being out, I do think we have to give Paul a lot of credit. I mean, yes. He's put up multiple 38, 40, 43-point performances with like 10 boards and some dimes. I mean, he's been playing really well, and I think he did send a message last night. That crossover. If you want to say he pushed Chris Paul or whatever when he knocked Chris Paul down, that was a complete legit play, and that was just him saying it's a man's game. I'm stronger than you, I'm bigger than you. Get off me. And I think that those kind of plays and that kind of mentality is why he is so lethal on the perimeter in the mid-range, because he's willing to battle you.
Yeah. Jordan Crabtree says, hey, yo, man, first in. Yes, you are. Good morning, Driftwood. Vision Gaming 2011. Hey, guys, not a great night last night. No, it wasn't. Gabe Ledley, Lope Soap, says, hey, yo, about last night.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. About last night. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Not good. Dario George says, cheers from Croatia. Hey, what's up? What a win for Croatia, by the way. Playing some footy. Driftwood says, don't forget the drops today, Jake. Yeah. Okay, listen. I know that people like this show. Okay? People like this show. People were pissed yesterday that you just decided not to do your job. And, as a lazy millennial, I'm not surprised by that. But I think there were some people in the audience yesterday, Jake, who expected a higher level of performance. And frankly, you just didn't deliver. Okay. There you go. Gabe Ledley says this Suns team is most susceptible to bad losses when they, quote, think all they have to do is roll out the basketballs to win. Oh, man, that's a great point. Expecting home crowd energy with no Leonard or Zubats equaled awful basketball. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Spot on, Gabe Ledley. Red Heart Norvis says, hey, Monty, can you and Jake do an impression of Stephen A. and Mac's take on the Suns and Clippers?
Is that a real question?
Yeah. Who? Listen, I like Max Kellerman on boxing. I cannot stand Max Kellerman on anything else. Like that show, and I don't watch it. We have a TV that's hanging on our wall because we're pimps and playas on the show.
Yeah.
So we have what is that, a 60-inch TV hanging on the wall over there?
Yeah. And
it's just on in the background most of the day because my Yelpatory is also here. My gym is over there. Like we're in about a 5 square foot room. So like all of this stuff is right on top of us.
Can you measure it?
It's not 5 feet. Anyway, the point is, we're in our palatial Monty Show studio compound.
Right.
And the TV's on in the background. And if I see Max Kellerman on TV, I have to go and kick my dogs because it just creates anger inside of me.
Wow.
What?
All right, where's the dogs at?
Yeah, No, I'm kidding. But if I see Max Kellerman on TV, I turn it off.
Yeah, it's just
really annoying. He really annoys me.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing I've been saying, which is all that show is, and all that show is for the Undisputed and First Take and all these shows.
Skip and Shannon.
Yeah, they're shock jock radio shows where they literally just come up with ridiculous takes, like Trae Young is better than Steph Curry in the postseason, and
it's soundbite. They're there to create sound bites.
Yeah, and I understand. I understand that has a use in today's media, and I'm sure ESPN does well with it. But it's not for me, dude.
I would agree with that. Is that necktie getting tight in Phoenix? James Knight says.
No.
He also says, Pat Bev, stop it, Monty. Hey, maybe you just didn't watch the game because, that's right, Joe Ingles is out of the NBA playoffs. That was probably too much. But if you watch that game, there is no way to deny that Patrick Beverley's having a huge impact on this series.
Yeah,
it is.
We've seen it throughout the series, right? He's been a pest with Book. I think to be honest with you, I think that's where Book's troubles kind of started in this series. Beverley getting in his grill, constantly pesting him.
The breaking of his nose was on Patrick Beverley's forehead.
Yeah, so I think Book has to. So if we go back to when Kevin Durant was a Warrior. Patrick Beverley and Kevin Durant went head-to-head and battled, and KD got technicals, and it was this whole thing. And nobody was surprised because it's Pat Beverley, right? But my point is that Kevin Durant put Bev in his place. That's where I'm pretty sure that's where the famous "Don't you know who I am" line from Kevin Durant came from when he was getting asked by the media about Beverley and blah blah blah, and he's like, "Don't you know who I am?" And then he turned it up, and he put Bev in his place. So, I know that Devin Booker is not 6'10" and, an insane, person that way, but I think he's more than capable of handling Beverley, and that needs to happen. He needs to get over on Beverley. Once that happens, then I think the Suns can start kind of, putting this team away. But I agree with everybody in the comments, dude. Like, you can't roll out on this Clippers team and think that they're just going to roll over, because that's never been who they are.
And again, I just say for everybody who ripped Paul George, for everybody that, talked about how, you have a guy in Tyronn Lue that is whatever he thought was.
He only won rings because of LeBron. That's the narrative on Ty Lue.
He's made incredible adjustments in this series. I thought the way he changed their style against the Jazz was the true difference maker. Going zone, being aggressive, turning Marcus Morris loose. Really the pick and roll with the guards. I think the way they held fast against the Mavericks. Again, they're down 3-1. They had no reason to come to Phoenix and play hard, but what did they do? They came in here and won. And I think that speaks volumes about who Ty Lue and this LA Clipper team are, because they're not going to give up, and you're not going to easily beat this team. And I think there's something to be said about that. So I would not write this series off. I think the Suns are going to win it, and I think they probably close in Game 6, because I have to think at some point that you have to do more than be legendary on your shoe, because Kobe said that to you. You actually have to come out and do that.
Yeah.
And that's my call to Devin Booker. Step up, win the game for the Suns, and go on in the NBA Finals, because that's where this team should already be. And again, I think the finals start a week from tomorrow. You should be off. You should be off right now. You should be resting right now, and you're not. And if that's not a wake-up call, this flight back to LA today, if that's not a wake-up call, I don't know what other wake-up call there will be.